Hello.
Hey, we will stop sharing so you can share your screen
Okay.
so we can see you. On your desk is his flyer. This is the one pager that he shared when he was on the panel with Sarah at Mega Camp last month. And there he is. Hey, Kyle.
Hello. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you now. All right, floor is yours, my friend.
Very cool. All right. I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to go through this one pager, and then I wanted to pull up my Instagram page and kind of walk you through my journey with social media. So, I had gotten real estate in November of 2022 is when I got my license. And I shortly after that figured out that I wanted my niche to be social media. So I decided to go all in on posting on Instagram first, and then I discovered YouTube and started making YouTube videos as well. But today we're gonna kind of focus more on short form. I will say that if you are going to get started on your content journey, I kind of did it the hard way. I focused on YouTube and Instagram and doing two kind of different styles of content. If I had to start over again, I think I would try and merge those a little bit more, where I could repurpose a lot of my YouTube content on my Instagram page. But uh this one sheet here, was anybody go to Mega Camp?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you had a few from your office. Cool. On the panel, you only get like 6 or 7 minutes. So we'll break this down a little bit. And this is kind of my formula for becoming Kansas City's hype man. Now, I've had a few people reach out to me. Broke Agent Media they just Broke Agent Media. Eric, he just shared a post last week about my page. And the one thing that I think he did a little bit of a disservice is, he's focusing on one kind of post that I do on my page, but those headline posts is what I refer to them as. They only get really good engagement because I spent a lot of time when I was building my brand and my page on and put an emphasis on reels. So if you're starting from nothing and you have not a lot of followers, reels is really the fast track way to gain followers on Instagram. And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be in front of the camera, like the talking head style reels and it focused on you. But if you want to grow, it's really the only way to grow on Instagram. You're not going to grow an account simply by posting carousel and images. So as far as the way that I do things, I'm the official hype man of Kansas City now. I interviewed the mayor of our city. I had an opportunity to because of my Instagram following, and I actually brought a certificate with me to that interview and asked him to sign it, and we like did a photo op and everything. So it's not like an actual title, but I marketed it that way. And so now if you go to my page, which you should all follow me, it's moving to KC. It says in my bio, the official hype man of Kansas City, and it's been huge for my brand, right? Because I've only been licensed for 2 years in November, but now when I go out in my market, people know me as the moving to KC guy. And a lot of people say, and push back to that, well, how is that related to real estate? Well, I mean, as far as um, building a referral network and a sphere of influence, when you don't have one, to be known like that out in public in your market is priceless, in my opinion. And I've started to receive direct listings and buyers from Instagram, although it was a lot slower to get there with Instagram than it was with YouTube. So YouTube, it started out as like I got a lot of leads from that first, and now Instagram is starting to. I'm actually about 50-50. I'm getting half my leads from Instagram and half of them from YouTube. Um, but as far as my formula, I just want to run through this one sheet with you guys real quick. I'm going to pull up my Instagram feed and kind of show you where I started, what it's evolved to now, and then we'll just open it up to questions because I'm kind of like a Q&A type person. So as far as my Instagram formula, I post every day over there. But it didn't start out that way. I started out posting like 2 to 3 times a week. So I don't want anybody to get overwhelmed thinking that you have to post every day because that's not the case. I think that should be the end goal, but it's really hard to come out the gate and post every single day and think of ideas and come up with content, and it can become kind of like a full-time job. But how I stay up to date in my market is I have every single local news source on my phone with push notifications turned on. And so anytime there's like a breaking news story in my market, I get that notification to my phone. And then I also subscribe to our local business journal. So I'm not sure if you guys have a business journal out there. You probably have some variation of it. But nobody reads that, but they do the best in my market, at least on reporting like new developments. And new developments have been kind of the catalyst or the foundation of how I built my brand on Instagram. Um, Next up, I leverage AI to create either a script or a caption. And so, if you're not utilizing AI for your business, you need to start today, because it is the cheapest form of leverage that you can find. I have a VA now that helps me post a lot of content, but I wasn't able to afford that until recently, as my real estate business has grown. And so AI has been essentially my VA for the past year and a half. And so I'll prompt it to, if I have an article that I really want to post, I'll usually copy that article, plug it into ChatGPT, and say, summarize this into a paragraph. Don't plagiarize it. And then I'll go back and I'll either rewrite that a little bit and use that as a script for like a 60-second reel, or I'll turn around and make a headline post with that. And then after that, the next step is if I'm going to record or create content, that's outside of like the carousel posts, I'll do that here in my studio. So one of the things that I learned early on is if I was going to be serious about creating content at this level, that I needed to have a designated spot to record, right? And that's where I'm at now. Is this is actually in our Keller Williams office. I have a space here, and I've kind of set up this studio where I can record all of the content. And I know that there are a lot of people that talk about batch shooting. I would definitely recommend doing that if you can. It's a little bit harder for my style of content just because it's all coming at me, in real time, right? So a lot of what I do is news related. So I'm trying to get that recorded and posted as soon as possible. But a couple of the things that I would recommend is if you want to kind of start out making content, but you don't want to commit to getting a full setup, is an iPhone. Get a good gimbal. So the DJI Osmo gimbal is one that I've used a lot for like home tours and stuff. And then a good mic setup. So I use the DJI wireless mics. They're great. They're so versatile. You can plug it right into your iPhone, and the audio is so important for content. This mic that I have here, I mean, this is like a $600 microphone. And if you do any research around creating content, they'll tell you that one of the most important things, it's not the quality of the video, it's the quality of the audio. So those would be some tips there. Step 4, I do have an editor. So for like my talking head reels that we'll get into here in a minute, I will send those off to my editor. And I found him on Fiverr. So, if you're just starting out again and you're looking to leverage a video editor, I realized very early on that if I was going to do content and real estate, I couldn't do editing because it's just too time consuming. The videos they never turned out nearly as good as anything that I would ever send to an editor. And the guy that I found, I mean, he charges me like $20 a reel. And so it's pretty affordable. And then if you want to do like YouTube videos, it's around 100 to $150. And then we try to stay scheduled out about a week in advance. So, I'm typically trying to have enough content to have at least one post scheduled per day a week out. And that's what enables me to post several times a day in many cases, because we already have something ready to go. And then if like a news story breaks or, something comes out in my market that I want to post, we can just throw that out there. And it gives me, again, kind of the peace of mind knowing that I don't necessarily have to post anything extra today. But if there's something that comes up that I want to post, it gives me the flexibility to be able to do that. So that's kind of my formula as far as the one sheet goes. Now, can you guys see my screen still?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is my Instagram feed. And before I hopped on, I scrolled all the way back to my very first post. So I could kind of show you where it started and kind of where it is now. So when I got my real estate license and the first conversation I had with my broker is I said, I'm going to do 30 posts in 30 days on Instagram to backlog some content so I don't look like a new realtor. So that was kind of the reason why I started posting on Instagram to begin with. Is I always kind of viewed Instagram as like your online resume, right? Like if somebody is looking you up and they're like, I wonder what this real estate agent's all about. I feel like as a millennial, Instagram is where I would go, right? So I decided to start on Instagram, and this was my very first post ever. Get into the Brookside neighborhood for less than $250,000 and look no further than this traditional 3-bed, 1.5 bath is conveniently. I don't know if you guys can hear the audio there, but did you hear it?
No, not yet, barely.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so if you guys ever follow Zillow Gone Wild, I try to do kind of the very monotone, like, really detached type of tone on this video. It just did not land well. And it was kind of cringe. But you know what? Like,
Gotta start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere. And this was kind of the first style of content that I did. And it's just, they're these green screen videos that they're super easy to do. And I was just experimenting, right? So I did like a bunch of different styles of content, like some meme content. I mixed in some stuff with my kids. And then I started getting really into like home tours. I really enjoyed doing these right out the gate. And then, some like market update style videos as well. So, this is kind of like what I envision, like a more traditional real estate agent's feed, right? But as we kind of scroll up here, I'll show you exactly where I pivoted in making a different style of content. So it was right here. This was my first video that really took off. And again, it was a green screen video, but it was on a news story that was taking place in my market. And that was that Airbnbs, they came down with some pretty strict regulations around Airbnbs, right? So, they basically, you can no longer have like buy a house and turn it into a short-term rental in Kansas City proper. And it was huge news, like in our market. And so I decided to just make a green screen video on this. And you can see kind of the difference from this video and the first one is like, number one, I have captions, right? Somebody said a long time ago that most, like, 70% of people watch reels without sound on. And that just really resonated with me. And since then, I've never done a talking head video without captions. And so I think captions are very, very important. And then I learned how to just have a little more emphasis when I was talking, right? Like and all I'm doing here, guys, is like these are screenshots of this article. And I'm literally just reading this article with emphasis in my voice. That's all I'm doing. You can do it however you want. A lot of people will like give their opinion of what they think, and they'll just kind of have it as a background. But right here is where I want to point out this highlighted text is what I'm reading. I'm literally just reading it, and you can say, you know, voters approved new taxes and fees on short-term rentals last month. And then I cut to the next scene, right? And so this is just a really easy video to make, where there's just not much that goes into it, right? Like if you, and this doesn't have to be like, I do a lot of hyper local news related content just because that's where I've gone with my business. But you could do it on anything, anything that you like. I mean, if you're passionate about it, I'm a huge proponent of just making content that you enjoy making, right? And so this was the first video, and then the next video that popped off for me was this one here. So this was like my first viral video, and it was on a new development that took place here in Kansas City. This Ferris wheel like entertainment district is being built in the middle of downtown, and this thing to this date has, so this is huge right here. 97% of the people that viewed these videos or this video don't follow me. And so when I say reels are the biggest way to grow your following, this is why. Because if you hit the algorithm, this thing has been played 340,000 times, and it's netted me almost 4,000 new followers. So 3,861 people followed my Instagram page because of this one video, right? So that's the power of Reels on Instagram. And now if you look at my feed today, like it's kind of all things Kansas City, right? So I mix in a variety of different types of content, everything from this is the top 5 fall festival events that are coming in September to, a headline post about how Kansas City is the the hottest housing market in the country, tied with Austin, Texas. And this style of content does really well for me now because I built the foundation with Reels. And so I want to just emphasize that you are not going to build a following just posting this style of content. If you want to grow on Instagram, you have to post Reels. But once you grow, it gives you the flexibility to start experimenting more with different kinds of content. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I will open it up to you guys to ask any questions that you want.
Well, I'll start. Thanks for all that. That was great information. I do want to make a comment. So I know like you and Sarah and Brandon, y'all all did, the panel with a few other people a few weeks ago, and Brandon was here in person at, last month for our team meeting. And for those that were in that meeting, do you see some similarities? Like talk about doing the reels, because Brandon shared that, talking about the reels is the best way to like get the most followers, in a short amount of time and that sort of thing. So I think, just really emphasizing, because you mentioned emphasizing on something that I'm hearing a lot of the same messaging. So I think like, listen to what they're saying because it's working for multiple people. I mean, you've been in the business how long? This is your 3rd year?
No, November will be the end of my 2nd year.
Into your 2nd year. Yeah. And you're already on stages. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. What other creators do you get inspiration from or that you try to mimic out in the realm of social media that you're in right now?
Well, I mean, everybody knows Ken Posick. He was kind of the main person that I honestly, the development talking head reels is how I built my core following, and I got that idea directly from Ken. Ken does it a little different. Like he does YouTube lives every single week, and then his editor will just go and kind of make some shorts out of that. Where I make like very intentional reels about developments, right? And so this is the cool thing about what we do is, you mentioned Sarah and Brandon, and we all kind of have some similarities in what we do, but we all put our own spin on it, right?
Right.
And so that's the thing that's beautiful about this is like you don't have to do it exactly like someone else, because I don't do it exactly like Ken, but he's who inspired me to start doing that style of content, right?
Make it your own personality. Yeah, love that. Who's got a question?
I do.
Go.
What's the ideal length of a reel?
Less than 60 seconds. Although, here's the other thing is Instagram is always evolving. Today it's shorter. Reels usually do better, but they've added watch time as one of their analytics recently, and that's huge on YouTube. And I've seen longer content recently on Instagram that is doing really well. So I posted so I was actually invited to. Has anybody ever been to Kansas City in this room? Nobody.
Hey, me. I used to live.
Yeah, we got
What?
one.
One person. Did you ever go to the Country Club Plaza?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So it's like this iconic shopping center. It's all Spanish style architecture. It's actually the first suburban shopping mall ever built for cars, which is ironic now because they're trying to like pedestrianize it. But it's this beautiful shopping district in South Kansas City, and it recently sold to new owners, which we're all really excited about here because the former owners did a really poor job of managing it. So occupancy is way down. There's been a lot of crime and all these things. Well, because of my the clout that I have now in my market, I got invited to the press conference for that, which was awesome and super interesting because I'm standing there with like all these local media outlets that have their giant, cameras and, on tripods and stuff. And I pull out like literally
Your phone.
this
Oh, there you go.
this tripod here, and I put my phone on it and I live streamed it. I live streamed it on Instagram, and that video was like 40 minutes long, but it got so much engagement. And like, I think it had like almost 10 minutes of watch time. So people are watching longer form content on these short form platforms or these like historically short form platforms. So, for me right now, again, like under 60 seconds is always my goal. But it's not uncommon for me to have, a 90-second video or a 2-minute video either.
Another question. Go. Steven.
So do you cross post to Facebook and do you see the same activity there or what's your viewpoint there?
So I have it set up on, I have an Instagram business account. So it's linked to my Facebook business account. And so everything I post on Instagram just automatically gets posted to my Facebook page. It doesn't have the same engagement, or even anywhere close to what I get on Instagram, which is interesting. But yeah, for me, my two platforms are YouTube and Instagram. And it's been hard to manage much more than that, right? Because when you're posting one time a week on YouTube and several times a day on Instagram, just the reason I cross post to Facebook is because it's so easy. I don't have to think about it. But I hardly post anything on TikTok just because it's another platform that I have to pull up and physically go and copy and paste the caption and put it in there. And that's another, even if it's 5 minutes of my time, time is like, my most constrained currency right now. So it's hard for me to do more of that, but we're working towards it. I just hired a BA 60 days ago. So, and that, I think that's important too, is it's hard, for me, I got into the business and built my business around social media. I think it's a lot more challenging when you have an established real estate business and then you go out and try and do content. So if you already have an established real estate business, I think you have to start thinking about building in leverage immediately, because your time is already spent. A lot of your time's spent on your real estate business, and that's where you make money.
Awesome. Someone else had a question over here a minute ago. Oh, Amy.
So, do you is Reels more like, I know you're branding who you are and everything, but do you do a call to action on your reel, or how do people communicate with you through that reel in terms of like getting new business?
Well, I mean, it's,
I mean, do you just
I,
like click
that's kind of
here?
that's a difficult here. I'm just going to share my screen again real quick.
Like, how do you convert people that follow you into like actual business? I think is kind of what you're
Yeah.
asking.
So these are my DMs. I mean, I get so many DMs every single day on Instagram. This guy right here was a buyer client of mine that came from Instagram. We just closed last month. But you know, I'm getting several of these every single day. And my my goal is to get them off of the platform as quickly as possible. So get their email or phone number, and I usually do that by way of I have like 4 Google forms that I've created. One's an investor form, one's a buyer, seller, and a relocation form. And so if somebody indicates to me that they want to buy, sell, invest, or relocate, I send them that Google form, which will then collect all that data. We could put it in our CRM and start following up with them through there, because it's, you know, and going back to your call to action, I don't do a call to action on every video. I still like to do home tours on my page. I do enough real estate related content for people to know that I'm a real estate agent. A lot of that is done like in my stories. So I'm posting, you know, if I'm at an inspection, like for example, a couple of weeks ago, we had an inspection and we did a mold inspection. And our mold company here, they use dogs that are like FBI, you know, trained by like, you know, the same people that train like bomb sniffing dogs. And I thought it was really cool, so I just like filmed it and, you know, posted it in my stories. And then today I just posted, if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere in the Kansas City metro, shoot me a DM. And so like I remind people that I'm a real estate agent. My bio says that I'm a realtor, but it's not in your face. And that's very intentional, because such a small percentage of the people that follow me are buyers and sellers right now. And I don't want to turn them off so much by being in their face all the time with real estate to where they unfollow me. I want to provide my like value proposition is just to lead with value, right? Like we're told that so much. I just had a coffee date with a guy, a buyer from California that's relocating here with a $2 million budget. And I asked him, I was like, how, and he's from Instagram. And I asked him, I was like, how, you know, how did you find me? He's like, I don't know, the algorithm just kind of put you in front of me. And then I started following you, and I followed you for a couple of months. So when, you know, we decided that we were going to move to Kansas City, you've just provided me with so much value that I was like, of course I'm going to give this guy my business. You know, so it's, you, I don't think of it as like, I, first of all, I really enjoy making content. So you know, if you go and look at my feed, I think that comes through in my videos. And so I would really challenge you, if you are doing this and you hate it, you might want to find a different means of generating business, right? Because you have to enjoy it at some level in order to do it on a daily basis, right? Because you know there are a lot of people that just it's not for them. You know, you can get it as many or more clients probably going out and doing cold calls or door knocking, or so. And you know, just keep that in mind, like on how you're wanting to build your business. I think it's important to have a presence online and on social media, but just do what feels comfortable for you, right? And then if you want to take it a step further, that's when I think you really go down researching different styles of content and what you want to be putting out there.
I have one more question.
Yeah,
So
go
you
ahead.
mentioned like the stories versus the posts. Do you do your reels as a post and a story, or do you just kind of switch on back and forth, or what's most effective? Because I feel like I mostly do stories and I don't post as much. I don't know that that's, you know, effective.
So my stuff that ends up in my feed is highly curated content for my feed, right? Like I won't go out and just shoot a video of like me talking about something that I think is like just completely opinion based, and and that works for some people, but mine is just like very polished content that ends up in my feed. I always repost that in my stories. So every single post, because, and the reason being is because the algorithm works in mysterious ways, right? Like every time I post something in my feed, it's not getting in front of everybody that follows me, but there are people that watch my stories religiously. And so I make sure that I'm always posting that post in my feed. So if it doesn't end up in front of them um because of the algorithm, they can at least go and view it through the stories, if that makes sense. But like more of my kind of off the cuff stuff where I'm just like I have like a tweet thought or something like that, and I want to just put that video up, that ends up in my stories. It never ends up in my feed.
Gotcha. I've got some more hands over here. Y'all have a question over here? Anybody?
I'll ask one.
Okay, Kim's got one.
What are, editing tools do you find the most useful?
So you could get really good at Instagram and never hire an editor if you just got good at Canva and CapCut. I do my all of my home tour videos. I edit myself, and a lot of that is because that was the style of content that I started my page with. Was I did a lot of home tours and I got pretty good at it. And so CapCut I use for all of my green screen videos. I prefer it over Instagram's green screen tool, just because I can kind of add my own captions and I can edit it in there, and it's just easier for me to do it that way. And then I can also take that, and if I wanted to, I could cross post that over on other platforms, right? Whereas if I'm doing it in the Instagram app, you have to download it and then you have the watermark, and it's just not great if you want to cross post. Um, but CapCut is an amazing tool. I would recommend paying for the pro version. I think it's like $10 a month, and the amount of stuff that you have just in that one app is incredible. And then Canva is what I use for like all of my thumbnails, all of my headline style posts. I just have templates in there that we can plug and play. And so when I have now, I've completely outsourced any of the headline posts that I post on my page. And when I say headline post, I'm referring to the ones that have like the big text on them, right? So like these style posts, I send these to my VA, and she's putting these all together now. And so I'll just send her the idea and she builds this out, because we just have a template where she can just, replace the image. And this one I posted yesterday, and it did really well. I mean, it's got like almost 2,000 likes, and it's getting really good engagement.
Awesome. More questions? Got a question?
Two questions.
Yes, go for it.
So first question, a lot of people post like a family life, private life on Instagram. So to do this, do you recommend to start with a new account to do real estate, or you can actually doing mixture like both?
Oh, this is a hard question. um, I just started a personal account out because I don't post anything personal on this page. And Ken and I have talked about this a lot because he has the Orlando Reel, and then the Posek group and his personal page. And so there are three different accounts that they're posting to, right? If I don't know that I would do it different though. I mean, the moving to KC brand, um, it is just that. I mean, it's a brand in its own right. But I think there is a lot of value in people just knowing you by name too, right? So that's kind of why I started a personal account, is because I want to build up my personal brand. The moving to KC brand is already on autopilot and doing what it's doing. But I don't post like my, you know, closing pictures and stuff like that on my feed. And so this gives me a place where I can do that and then also kind of make more content about my family and personal life, and give people an opportunity to get to know me outside of just like a journalist, essentially, is what I become.
My second question would be like, how much time you have to spend on this? Like, especially as a beginner, you still have to do the real estate work, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I am spending probably 20 hours a week on making content. Because I'm just making so much, and I'm 100% scripted. So everything that I do has a script. And I'm trying to get more of that off my plate, right? Because my real estate business is taking off. I'm starting to get more clients, and so it becomes harder to juggle those two things. But I'm all about leverage. I already have a buyer's agent. I had a buyer's agent after doing 10 transactions. And people are like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm just like, because I've always seen myself as being more of a rainmaker role. Like that's kind of my goal, right? Is I'm building a business and I want to do content 100% of my time. Like that is what I want to do. And then, I'll still sell a little bit of real estate, but my end goal is to have agents on my team who are, essentially just running all the leads, and then I get to focus on more big picture stuff, and doing even more content, because I have aspirations to have more than one YouTube channel, and like just I enjoy it so much that I like it more than the real estate side of my business. And so I think if you were going to be posting, I know there are agents out there that they get away with just like kind of like batch shooting, like 1 day or 2 days a month, where they sit down and they're very intentional about like, these are the 2 days where I'm recording my content for the entire month. And I think if you have a established real estate business, that's almost the approach that you have to take. Because it's not sustainable to do it the way that I'm doing it if you're already doing 20, 30, $40 million a year in real estate. It's just it's too time consuming.
Quick question.
Thank you.
When you're doing your home tours, do you stick to like areas where you want to sell, or do you just kind of, does it matter, do you think?
I try to stay in areas I want to sell. I benefit. I was actually talking to Sarah about this and Brandon the other day, because you guys are North Atlanta Metro. Are any of you guys actually selling in Atlanta?
I have a few that like in the Decatur area, a few investments like south of Atlanta, but mostly to the north end of Atlanta.
So we just don't have a huge city, so I can kind of, I have like, that's an advantage of mine. I can go wherever I want. But to answer your question, I either A, will try and find something in the area that is like my farm area, or B, if it's just a really cool property and like I have permission to go shoot it, I will. Just because I kind of, you know, intentionally post certain styles of houses on my feed that I know people really like mid-century modern, these beautiful historic homes that we have close to downtown, or like really new contemporary modern homes that I know are just going to get high engagement.
Yeah. I want to note one thing you said was, get permission, get approval, note to self, like do not go and film anybody's home that's not your listing without permission, written
Well,
consent.
and now I get agents that reach out to me. They're
And
like,
they want you to come do
will
it
you
for them.
feature our listing on, and I say no probably 90% of the time, because I'm like, this is just a regular house and I'm not going to go do a video on it. But occasionally, I mean, I have one right now where I know the listing agent. She reached out to me a week ago and she's like, we have this like really cool, it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, like under 900 square feet, but it's just like this really cool space. And I'm gonna go shoot a video on it tomorrow, because it's in a price point where people are gonna be like, no way, like, even though it's small, it's such a cool house and it's listed for 250 that I know it's gonna do well. And it's just going to be a fun house to shoot. And because it's so small, I can be in and out of there probably in 30 minutes. And then I'll throw, all in, it'll probably take me an hour to make the video. So go shoot it and then plug it in CapCut, edit it, and do a voiceover, and then I'll be able to post it.
Awesome. Awesome. Any more questions? Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, I know we focused a lot with using social media to build up your client base, but this business is all about relationships. So I was just wondering, with as big of a following that you have you built your referral network from other agents from your social media? And if so, how has that grown your business?
So that's kind of why I'm terrified of public speaking. And so I like reluctantly said yes to be at Mega Camp. But it was such a huge opportunity to get in front of more agents, and so that's a a pillar of my business that I'm focusing on right now is more agent referrals. So and I'm starting to see the fruits of that. I met a ton of cool people in Austin, Sarah included. What's funny is I started my YouTube channel obviously after Sarah, and I had watched a ton of her content before, and gotten ideas from her channel for my YouTube page. So but yeah, I mean, agent referrals, I think is, 85% of the people that follow me are in Kansas City. I would say the other 15% are agents. And so, I mean, to have, thousands of agents that are following me should lead to agent referrals, because I'm kind of like the Kansas City guy now, right? Like you think of Kansas City, moving to KC is usually what's going to come to the forefront of your mind.
So you're talking about that you spend 20 hours a week, give or take, on building your content. And I kind of heard the room kind of was like, wow, but that's 3 to 4 hours of lead gen a day, right? Isn't that what's on your calendar anyway? Yes, right? That's what's on your calendar. So you just pick the lane of which you want to lead gen in, which is your content and on social media. So I love your passion about how much you love to do it. And obviously it shows because it's going really well for you. So I think what I hear you also saying is find your lane, like find your lane that you're passionate about, that you're going to love doing every day. And the people are going to see that, the authenticity in that, in your videos, if that's the lane that you pick.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, 90% of my business comes from social media. So this is all of my marketing and lead gen, right? So again, to your point, like it's real estate is all it is finding your niche or your lane or whatever, and then going all in on that. Like, don't do a little bit of everything. Find what you love and just focus on that, right? Like, because not everybody's going to be good at social media. Not everybody's good. You can get good at social media. You can get good on camera. For me personally, I have 15 years prior experience of, sales and marketing. So I've been through so many sales courses that focus on voice inflection and emphasis and, saying things with passion and all, and that comes through in my videos, right? Like, and so some people just, it's not going to work for everybody. But that doesn't mean there's not something out there that works for your business. You just got to find what that is.
Yep. Awesome. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, we so appreciate you zooming in, Kyle. I know that your time is precious and I know that we all appreciate your time. And yeah, just hopefully we'll see you again on some big stages and keep doing all the great things, because if you guys aren't following, you should. Because my favorite video is when you did the time lapse of you at Mega Camp when you woke up in the hotel room, which you guys need to go look at that because it's pretty funny. So great job on that. But yeah, hope to have you back.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, follow me if you haven't already. And if you guys have any referrals, people to move into Kansas City, I'm your guy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Really
beautiful. Appreciate you guys.
All right. See ya.